LinkedIn for Personal Branding with Virginia Bautista is a weekly podcast that brings to you insights, stories, tips, and strategies that you can use to build your influence, monetize your expertise, and make an impact through LinkedIn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of LinkedIn for Personal Branding podcast. So, this is also an interview series. And today I'm super excited to have on the show, on this program, one of the people that I really, really admire. And today we're going to talk about a very important topic in personal branding. This is about the power of storytelling in building your personal brand. Now, let me first introduce to you our guest for today. She is a CEO branding strategist, and what she does is she helps entrepreneurs craft a compelling brand story, and then she turns connections into conversion. She's also the Philippine editor for Marketing in Asia. And Marketing in Asia is a content sharing platform that helps professionals, experts, and entrepreneurs in Asia stand out through thought leadership content. Our guest has her own podcast as well, Your Brand, Your Story. She is a TEDx speaker, and her amazing story has recently been featured by AMA University and has reached over 1 million views. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome our guest, Jennette Cajucom. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and congratulations for finally you launched this podcast. I've been reading your content for the longest time, and I've been wishing that you join the podcast bandwagon, and I'm finally happy that it's now here. Thank you.
I'm also super excited and grateful to you, Jen, for allowing me to invite you because for sure a lot of our listeners will and viewers will learn a lot from your journey. So, I was saying this is about the power of storytelling in personal branding. I've been doing personal branding and teaching people about personal branding for a long time, and I think Jen, you know what, storytelling is an underutilized. What I've observed is storytelling has been an underutilized kit in a person's personal branding toolkit. Because when we're building a brand, we have a toolkit. And most people forget that storytelling should be there in their toolkit. So I also it reminds me also of the title of your podcast. I remember it's Your Brand, Your Story. Can you tell us about the power of storytelling in building our personal brands?
Yes. Yeah, I guess, Virginia, it all goes back to the basics of show and tell.
Uh-huh.
'Di ba nung when we were still kids, and back in grade school,
Mm-hmm.
our teacher would tell us to bring either our favorite book, our favorite pet, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then
Right.
we would be asked to stand in front and share something about that book or about that pet. It's really for us to realize the difference between show and tell.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I guess, we have seen the power of storytelling, but I guess in personal branding, especially
Mm-hmm.
nowadays that we are operating digitally,
Yeah.
if we want our personal brand to resonate to the target audience that we want to attract,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the best way to connect is by capitalizing on our own stories through storytelling. And
Mm-hmm.
lalo na rin if we want to be memorable,
True.
because
True.
we all know for a fact that, facts facts are forgettable, right? So I guess it's as simple as that.
Right.
And I guess since I remember one of your posts, one of your recent posts, I guess it's one of your latest
Mm-hmm.
posts, where you said that personal branding is a journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like when you introduce yourself through storytelling, if you really want um your target audience to understand the space where you're coming from,
Right.
the
Mm-hmm.
best way to do it is through storytelling. If you think about it, you just simply have to take them back to that journey when you were still trying to discover yourself as a brand.
And this is
So
so powerful, Jen, right?
yes, yes, very powerful. And it's another another post that I also saw from you, when I remember saying, yes, yes, this is really how it is. I mean, the fact that we're now living in a digital world, what if you want to attract, if you want to attract people without having to have face-to-face interaction,
Mm,
you have to ask yourself the question, what is it that you can do in your personal brand such that you can still resonate with them even before having to interact with them,
oh, that's
right?
very beautiful. Even before you interact with them. Gone are
Yes,
the days that the first point of contact is that time that you speak to each other. The first
yes,
touch point is even long before that.
yes, exactly. And I mean, I guess the simplest example that I can give here is when we, let's say, apply for a job,
Mm-hmm.
right? More often than not, we would put our resume online, we would even
Yeah.
include our
Mm-hmm.
portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
but we know for a fact that our competitor applicants are doing the same,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, what are the chances that you would even earn that interview, right? So you have to think of something in order for them to, in order for you to connect with them and make that next move to invite you for an interview. And
Very
storytelling, I
powerful.
guess.
Yeah. Because it
Yes.
connects, right? Emotionally. Now I'm
Yes.
curious, Jen, because you're CEO of branding strategies. Because I know that a lot of CEOs think that personal branding is just sharing tips or sharing their expertise. How do you actually convince a CEO in their branding strategy to actually tell their story? Because I know it's a challenge for them.
Yes. I guess I have to, one of the insights that I've gained over the years that also have helped me convince CEOs to put
Mm.
themselves out there, because more often than not um, they would separate themselves for their business. Eh.
Oh,
They're still stuck in the old thinking that business is business, personal is personal.
right. Mm.
But then when I learned from Angelica Umali, she's been working in corporate for, I think, almost 2 decades, and she's now a
Mm-hmm.
coach, a
Mm-hmm.
very, very good coach. And one thing I learned from her is was when she said that business is personal because our business is an expression of who we are. So, and then another thing, when I read the book of Nella Donato, The Human Centered
Mm-hmm.
Brand, that was, I guess, 4 years ago. That was when I learned that um, people would rather deal with people than businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
syempre back then when I was just starting out, when I niched down from digital marketing to branding, I felt
Mm-hmm.
back then na parang people might not listen to me
Mm-hmm.
immediately as a CEO branding strategy. So I had to share to them the insights of these experts that I know.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out okay naman. It worked out okay naman. And then parang I guess you just have to find that common ground. You
Mm-hmm.
have to find something that they also know um so that you would get their buy-in as
Right.
far as the benefits of storytelling is concerned. And I guess one way to be one way to do it is
Mm-hmm.
when CEOs share their vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's a vision story. Yeah, it's a
Yes,
vision story.
yes, because um the, if the vision is something that employees, right, is something that can benefit both the employees and the clients, or the customers of their
Mm.
business, their target market. And if they understand the space where the CEO is coming from,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
as far as his vision of the company is concerned, they'd be able to, they'd be able to understand the CEO better as far as the direction of the business is concerned. I mean, this is for the employee side.
Ma-
Um, yes,
yeah, go ahead, Jen.
yes.
Just
And
go
then,
ahead.
yeah, but then there are cases when the CEOs of a company are not necessarily the business owners,
Yeah,
diba?
uh-huh.
Like in the case of, I don't know, like in the case of Tim Cook, because it was, it was previously
Mhm.
Steve Jobs, eh.
Steve
And
Jobs.
then when Steve Jobs passed on, so si Tim Cook na. So it could be a struggle kasi hindi kanya yung vision, eh. It was the vision of
Mhm,
someone else.
mhm,
But you can share. You can share your own vision. But then, syempre, if you do storytelling, you have to keep in mind that you also have to be authentic. So you still have to dig in yung personal story mo.
mhm.
What is that story? Kasi syempre we cannot, hindi naman natin pwede ikwento lahat, 'di ba?
Yeah, I mean, authenticity,
Yes.
but not necessarily transparency in everything, a
Yes. So you,
balance. Mhm,
yes, you have to, I guess, if that is the case, kung yung CEO ganon bago sa company, you
mhm.
have to find that, you know, what was that thing that happened in your past that made you become the person that you are. And specifically, I guess, I'm referring to the core values because, for one,
Okay.
you wouldn't be appointed or you wouldn't have accepted being a CEO in that company if you do not share the same core values, right? So
Mhm.
that's one way to position yourself. What were the struggles that you did in the past that mold you to have the core values that you have today that is aligned with the company?
How easy or how difficult is it, Jen, to make CEOs tell their stories?
Ah, so for the most part, their struggle is more of the the writing part.
Mhm.
Yeah,
How to
because I mean,
articulate that? Mhm,
yes, how to articulate. And well, while there are options that they can, I mean, if they have a staff or sometimes they have
mhm,
a family member who really knows them,
mhm.
that's a good thing din kasi about branding. People have to understand that when it comes to, let's say, asking someone to do your branding, that person should know it should not just be skilled but should also know your backstory, which
Right.
is why, I guess, family members, best friends, sila yung pwedeng gatekeepers
Mhm,
dun sa
mhm,
branding ng tao, if you
mhm,
think about
mhm.
it. So going back, so yeah, there's this option as far as the writing
Mhm.
is concerned. He can ask the help from his own gatekeepers, the one who really knows him as a brand, him or her. And then next is the framework. This
Yeah,
framework I really like to share kasi
yeah,
parang we're now in an era where a lot of people would want to share their story on stage,
yeah,
which is really exciting. And the framework act this framework is parang, you have to come from a space, especially if you're a business owner, rather than promote um rather than promote what your business does, rather than promote the benefits of your products and
mhm,
services. Dig deeper dig deeper
mhm,
I mean, I
mhm.
guess the best example that I can give here is, let's say, if you are a CEO of a skincare product or a
Mhm,
skincare clinic. We all know for a fact that people go to a skincare clinic to have their skin problems addressed.
mhm,
But more than that, why do people want to have their skin problems addressed? Ano ba yan? Is it because gusto ba niyan mapansin ng crush niya?
mhm,
Gusto ba yan makapag-asawa? Gusto ba niyan kasi gusto niya kasi mapansin siya ng boss niya? Is she aiming for a promotion, for example? Dig
mhm.
deeper. What are the pain points? Why do people buy a certain product or avail of a certain service? So it has to be in that, parang doon dapat nakaikot yung story mo. Why? Because even if it is your story, the hero should be your target audience.
Yeah,
It
I
should
like
not
that.
it should not be entirely about you.
I like that. And that makes the story relatable and shareable for the
Yes.
people that you target.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. what do you think are the types of stories? I think you already mentioned this. You said vision stories, but what else are the types of stories that CEOs should actually be sharing?
Another aside from the vision, there's this also this so-called educational, they call it the
Okay.
educational or the process story. And I guess it's yeah, I guess it's applicable both for products or service, because
Okay.
if let's say you're a CEO of a company
Mhm.
and you want people to understand the space that you're coming from, as far as why you came up with the product or why you came up with the service.
Service. Uh-huh.
Oo, parang it's called educational because you are educating your target audience as far as the process that you deliver is concerned. So it's I guess this can come in handy when you want to, let's say you want to capitalize on the quality of the customer service that you
Okay.
provide
Mm-hmm.
to a company. That's the process story is very very useful, because I mean especially nowadays kasi hindi na natin ginagamit yung word na customer service, 'di ba? We now
Mm.
use customer experience.
Experience.
And for the most part, it's because we don't treat customer service as just an after sales service na lang. It has to be an end-to-end delightful
Correct.
experience.
Correct.
Meaning from the time that they inquire up to the time that that the transaction was closed. So ganun dapat. So dun mo pwedeng ipasok ngayon yung process mo.
Mm.
So what are the
Right.
core values also involved? Why
Core
you
value.
came up with the
Mhm.
process in order to ensure an end-to-end delightful experience. So that's another way that a CEO could tell his story.
So it's actually talking about products and services, but not actually talking about them.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, but
exactly.
that the story behind
Yes,
all of these. Now
yes.
I want to segue naman, Jen, because I'm really curious. Not I'm curious. I already know some information about that. But I really want our audience to get to know your own journey in building your personal brand, in becoming who you are today. And
Ah,
I see that you're coming from, because I know you're coming from a place where you really value adding value. So tell us your own journey.
yeah. Actually, you had a great deal you had to do with it on basta on a ano, malaki yung naging part mo dun sa journey kong
Mhm.
yon. It was a great deal for me, because I remember back then when
Mm.
I was trying, because I never really saw myself as a specialist of something. It was like I had bits of experiences
Mhm.
of everything, of every parang siguro simply put, parang every operation, every department in a business na ikutan ko.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
And I it didn't make sense back then until I connected the dots na okay, kaya pala. And my last stop back
Mhm.
then was customer service. After ko
Ah,
naikutan
uh-huh.
halos lahat,
Uh-huh.
my last stop was customer service.
Mhm.
And it was then when I realized kaya pala ako dinaan sa customer service ulit in order to understand marketing on a deeper level. Kasi pala babalikan ko yung marketing. Kasi marketing yung una-una ko naging job.
Marketing. Mhm.
So, and then when when I was able to find the clarity after connecting all the dots, so to speak, I saw your post on LinkedIn,
Correct.
and it really really resonated with me, and it had something to do with finding your clarity. And I remember writing a comment that goes something like, um when you have to take the time to find your own clarity, because it's a way to empower yourself
Yeah.
before you can move forward. And then once I guess that was it.
Mhm.
After you connect the dots, it would now be easier for you. Well, in my case, it became easier for me to um to do my brand message, to do my
Mm-hmm.
brand story, and then also use a language. Kasi by then, I have already identified who my target market is eh.
Mm-hmm.
So it became easier for me as well to incorporate the language that would resonate to them and put it into a story. So, and yeah, and I guess once it was also the clarity that also gave me the courage to
Mm-hmm.
to indulge at
Mm-hmm.
invitations, speaking
Right.
invitations.
Mm-hmm.
So and like I said, you had a great deal to do with it. I remember when we were co-speakers at the working remote conference when I said
Mm-hmm.
na kinakabahan ako. Sabi ko, I remember you said, bakit ka kakabahan? It's not about you. It's about the value that you're going to give to your audience. So every time I get an invitation to speak, whether it's on stage or on a webinar, I always remember that. So,
And I'm trying
ayun.
to apply that as well. But you said something really beautiful, Jen. So from clarity, everything falls into place. With clarity, you have the right message, you have the right branding, you have the right story to tell, and you have the courage, which is very important in building our, reputation or personal brand. So that's the
True.
starting point, right? So what's
Yes.
your advice, Jen? Because I'm sure you know that there's so many people out there who want to start building their personal brands and they're actually afraid to tell their stories. What's your advice to those people who don't want to tell their stories, or maybe they're not sure, will personal branding help me? Will telling my story make sense? What will you advise to them?
Ah, same thing. I just go back to what has worked for me. Gain clarity and then condition yourself to come from a space of helping. Meaning if you don't want to if you don't want your efforts to go to waste, rather than pitch, rather than promote, you have to come from a space of helping, meaning uh, you have to consider to inspire, educate, empower instead. And then, of course, do it through a story in order for you to
Right.
connect. And then, so yun lang. You have to have that intention of sharing, of giving value, because once sa first try, believe me, once you find that clarity, and then once you get that courage after you find that clarity, once you put yourself out there, meron at meron ka ba, definitely, because it's your first time eh. But then once you come from a space of helping, people will respond positively, and that will motivate you to do it over and over again.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Jen. One last question for you. What is the most unforgettable story that you shared that has made a huge impact on yourself and on the community? What is that story that you shared? Ang laki ng impact.
Ah, I guess it was kasi I've always been advocating about giving,
Okay.
because for the longest time, even me, I'm guilty of it, that when we give, it's like we're on the losing end. But then when I realized the value of giving,
Uh-huh.
I I tried to dig deep. I tried to dig deep. Why am I really coming from a space? Why am I insistent on convincing people to give? So there was this story when I was a kid, because my parents, my grandparents came from a different generation, that
Mhm.
yeah, that you have to think about yourself first. That you have to think about the family first, immediate family members first, before giving to others. So, but then the thing is, there's nothing really wrong with giving, because I believe that once you put good out there, good will come back. And I didn't understand back then. And then when I guess I over the years I had to prove it. And then in the corporate one, when I was in the corporate world, I realized when reality bit me, that my that what my grandparents have told me was true, that in giving you could be at the losing end. And it did happen to me in the corporate world,
Mm.
but I did not stop. It only made me stronger. It only made me stronger. So I guess the moment when I had that experience, I wanted to prove to other people, hindi, meron at meron talaga. But the thing is, once you realize who you are, it won't, and you, once you gain clarity on who you are and you stick to it, you attract the same kind of people. And when you attract the same kind of people who believe, and in my case it was giving, hindi na ako nang hinayang mag-give because we're all alike.
Wow, I like that. So when you start having clarity, the right people will come and you will attract
Yes.
them. So it's
Yes.
really a matter of, are you telling your story, or are you telling the right story, the authentic story, the real one? And what is your intention? If your intention really is to help, and if you're coming from a place of helping, don't have to worry about anything. Everything else will come into place and you will attract the right people.
Yes, yes, exactly. And you're one of them. Yes, really.
And I also believe that, Jen, because at first I didn't believe that. I was also at that point sometime that I was thinking, what's the point of doing all of this? Should I go back? Then I thought, no, I think I've come this far. I can't go back. So why are you doing all of these things? Sometimes you will have those thoughts. And really the answer is, go back to who you are. Go
Yes.
back to who you are. Go back to your why, and go back. After that, you will see and you will start to connect the dots. All of these things are happening. All the opportunities that you have right now are because of who you are, because of having clarity, and because you decide to give rather than to take.
Yes,
Very
yes.
powerful in building a personal
Very,
brand.
very, very powerful. Yeah, there are three people that always come to mind when they think about giving. Yeah. First is you, and then Simon Sinek, and then Adam Grant. Yes.
Oh, I love them both, Adam Grant and Simon
Yes.
Sinek. That's what they do. And you see them, very, very powerful stories as well. They share stories as well in video format and written format, images. Thank you so much, Jen. I was really listening to you, and it's like we've just talked yesterday, when in fact we haven't talked for a long time. And I think it's
I
because we're
know.
very, very much aligned. And that's why I'm super grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you so much as well. And congratulations again.
Thank
And
you.
all the best.